Hey, today I'm going to talk about Raya and the Last Dragon, boy, ampersand, bound. It is a real interesting combination of movies, but all of them are pretty dang good. First up is Raya and the Last Dragon. This is a brand new Disney movie. I'm sure you're well aware of this thing's existence. If you're somehow unfamiliar about this movie or haven't seen it yet, the basic premise is Raya is this Disney princess in this fantasy version of Southeast Asia, and she is going around the Five Kingdoms to collect a bunch of MacGuffins. Also, there's dragons and magic, and the movie is all about trust. I've been pretty dang hyped about this movie for a while. I was tempted to rent it for the $30 thing, but no one else really wanted to see it. So I was like, okay, I guess I can wait a month. And I think it still would have been worth it had I paid the $30. I enjoyed this movie a ton. I enjoyed the premise of the movie. I enjoyed the setting of the movie. I enjoyed the aesthetic of the movie. I loved the messaging of the movie. I basically just have two complaints. The first one being, this shouldn't have been a movie. This should have been a TV show. This has such Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes, and as soon as I realized that, it dawned on me it should be a TV show. We should have had whole seasons dedicated to each of the different kingdoms, because the movie just moves so fast, we don't get time to really explore the uniqueness of each of these kingdoms and what makes them so special. My other complaint stems from the character design in the prologue. I didn't realize Raya was going to be younger than what all the advertising has her as, so I was just kind of thrown off when we first saw her. But then what really threw me off is when we met her dad, because her dad's face, I was like, oh, I know who that actor is. And it's like his character's head has a very hyper-realistic face. And then they cut to Raya's younger self, and she looks like a brat doll. And it just keeps cutting back and forth, and I'm like, hyper-realistic brat doll, hyper-realistic brat doll, hyper-realistic brat doll. And I'm like, this doesn't look good. And it just put a very bad taste in my mouth for the beginning of the movie. But thankfully, everything improved greatly after the time jump. But yeah, it's a cute, fun movie with beautiful animation. If you're intrigued by it, definitely go for it. If you just want to watch something pretty, it's definitely worth it. Though you've probably already seen it if you're interested in this. Next up is Boy. This is a 2010 Taika Waititi movie. I have now seen every single one of his films except for one. I haven't seen Shark vs. Eagle yet, so get prepared for that at some point in the future. The basic premise of this, it's about this boy who goes by Boy, and he lives with his grandma and his younger brother. His mom has passed away and their dad is gone, and it's just kind of him trying to live his life, and then his dad shows up and it's about their relationship and trying to figure out what they want out of life and stuff. I don't really have a ton I want to say about this movie. It was pretty good. Put it in the quite like section. You can definitely see lots of Taika's humor in there. He also acts in it and he's pretty good. The main boy is terrific. I would say if you enjoy Taika's other stuff, it's definitely worth a watch. It's not my favorite of his movies. That'd be Hunt for the Wilder People. But it's definitely not a bad movie by any means. I still put it up pretty high. He just has lots of really damn good movies, and this being his second film, it's pretty good. And lastly is Bound. This is a 1996 Wachowski movie. This is their feature film debut right before they did The Matrix. The basic premise is it's about this woman who lives with a mobster, and then a beautiful new neighbor moves in next door. They fall in love, and then they want to run away together. So they scheme on how they can screw over her mobster boyfriend so they can go have a gay old fun life. I guess you can kind of describe this movie as like a gay noir, with like a little bit of like some heist elements in there too. When I heard people talk about this movie, they made it seem way more sexual than it is. Like it was closer to like erotica. And like the movie does start off fairly sexual, but I would not say it's any more sexual than any regular like gangster type movie that has a sex scene or some sex scenes in it. This one only has one gay sex scene in it. That's essentially it. I don't know, maybe it's because it's two women that people kind of are like, ooh. And the only thing that kind of threw me off with this movie was that there were a bunch of musical cues that the Wachowskis would later use in the Matrix movies, but they feel incredibly out of place in this noir film that has nothing to do with technology, yet felt amazingly in place in the Matrix. So it's just like every time we'd hear like that thing, I'd be like, oh my god, I know like the 10 scenes this is in the Matrix. Why is this here when they're doing lesbian stuff? That doesn't make any sense. What's going on? Stop it. So that like took me out of the movie a bit, but not a significant amount by any means. It's just something to kind of be prepared for when watching this movie. Honestly, I would say you need to prepare yourself more for that than you do for any of the gay stuff in the movie. But yeah, I would say if you're into noir stuff, this is definitely worth a look. If you also love the Wachowskis' work, this is different than all of the other stuff, but it's still a very well done movie. Or even if you're just kind of vaguely intrigued by it, go for it. You're in for a good time. I'm definitely glad I got to see this one. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got Raya and the Last Dragon, sitting at number 40 in the really like section. It's right at the bottom, really liked. And then after that is Boy, sitting at number 57 in the quite like section. And then bringing up the rear is Bound, sitting at number 79, also in the quite like section. And this is out of a total of 162 movies so far this year.